Hello, and thank you for watching. I just had a few concerns that I wanted to run by you. First of all, I do want to talk about the cost. We certainly don't have to settle on anything at all this minute, but I did want to give you some ideas about what kind of things we should be thinking about at this point. You mentioned that you do have a budget, which is good. However, you didn't say what it was. And it's important to be transparent about your budget for a lot of reasons. For example, the quicker that I can get an idea of your budget and the time frame that I have to work with, the easier that it's going to be for me to help you identify whether or not this is going to be a good fit for either of us. Because at the end of the day, I do have a minimum budget requirement for different project types. So by revealing your budget, I can potentially change certain aspects of the project while still providing you with a quality product. If it's a printing project, for example, there's a lot of factors that would greatly affect the cost, like the printing supplies, the paper options, the document size, and of course the turnaround time. But if it's a website project, I can always delay certain features until a later date. So even if your budget is on the low end, I can offer you a design concept that best fits the time frame needed in order to work within that budget. And if I know what your budget is, I can offer a proposal that will match it rather than making educated guesses on some of the variables that can come in too high or too low. So if you still feel uncomfortable about revealing your budget, that's fine. What I can do is I can show you several options that include the benefits and the drawbacks of each, along with how the outcomes will differ depending on the cost. They're basically estimates that allow you to choose the most realistic option for what you have to work with. So this is why it's so important to be transparent about your budget. Also, you've stated that you're unsure of your budget, and I'd like to discuss that with you as well. Budgeting your project, it's one of the most important things that you can possibly do in the planning process. If your project is budgeted properly, it'll likely come in at or even under budget once it's completed, which is going to save you money in the long run. So if it's not planned out, we could potentially run out of money halfway through, which could end up costing you 2 to 3 times as much in order to complete the project. The first thing we need to do, though, is properly estimate the costs. It's a fairly simple process, and I would be more than happy to go over it with you. But basically, just by looking at similar projects, we can get an accurate estimate of what our budget should look like. I'll also perform a risk analysis to ensure that we're budgeted for anything unexpected that could potentially go wrong. And it's also important that we account for the technology costs, things like paper, ink, software, or any rental items that we might need. And then this should give us a comprehensive overview that's pretty accurate estimate for the total budget needed. Once we have that, we'll take a small percentage off of it and add it right back into the budget for anything unexpected that could occur. And finally, I have some concerns related to the expectations that we've agreed upon versus the ones that you mentioned in our last visit. Now, while I can certainly appreciate new ideas, at the same time, I don't want to imply that each of them can be accomplished within the budget and time frame allotted. So what I'll be emailing you what's called a change request form. I'd like you to review it and agree to the conditions. And this form can basically be used at any time before the project gets started to request any specific changes that come to mind. So if we knock these out from the get-go, then we can account for them in the budget and time frame. However, once the project does begin, it's important that we stick to the original agreement, which, by the way, does include those out-of-scope requirements that we've talked about and we've already agreed upon that won't be a part of the project, and any new changes, of course, that have been approved by both of us in the change request form that I'm sending you as well. Otherwise, this project could get derailed rather quickly with any additions or changes that we haven't accounted for ahead of time. And it would likely result in the project going over budget and time, which is never a good thing. I mean, the last thing that either one of us wants are surprises, right? So this change request form will help us to avoid those. And then finally, to help us stay on track, each time a new phase of the project is completed, we'll get together and we'll review it. This way, you can offer any feedback that you might have, and you get to approve every step. So let me know if you have any questions whatsoever after reviewing this. Let's get together and let's discuss our options, okay? Thank you.